George Harrison, often regarded as the quiet Beatle and spiritual seeker, was typically in the shadow of John Lennon and Paul McCartney. While his calm and introspective demeanor might have suggested tranquility, there was a deep-seated animosity he carried towards one individual, a person whose actions ignited his ire more than anyone else. This wasn't just a passing grievance, it was something that colored much of his outlook on both personal and professional matters. Despite his reputation for avoiding conflict, Harrison's feelings of resentment toward this person were rooted in far more than mere disagreements or misunderstandings. His quiet disposition only served to conceal the intensity of the animosity he harbored, which, for many years, remained a lesser-known aspect of his complex personality. Growing up in Liverpool, George Harrison was born on February 25, 1943, into a family that loved music. Being the youngest of 4 children, he was surrounded by melodies and sounds that shaped his early years. From a young age, George showed a strong interest in guitar and singing, but he also felt a quiet struggle within the band he would later join. As a member of the Beatles, he often found himself overshadowed by the more dominant personalities of John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Their fame and creative influence made it harder for George to get the recognition he desired. Despite this, he kept true to his love for music and kept working hard. Over time, he wanted to have more say in the band's direction and more credit for his ideas. This desire grew stronger as he grew older, fueling his determination to become a more recognized artist. Although he faced difficulties being seen equally alongside Lennon and McCartney, George's passion and talent never wavered. His early life in Liverpool and his feelings of being less noticed pushed him to develop his own style and musical voice. These experiences contributed to his growth as a songwriter and musician and helped shape his future as a solo artist. His journey was one of perseverance, always seeking to be heard and valued for his own unique contributions. Growing up in Liverpool, George Harrison's early life was shaped by the influence of his mother, Louise Harrison, who had a deep passion for music. Her love for music was a guiding force in his childhood, and it played a significant role in sparking his interest in the arts. Louise Harrison's enthusiasm for melodies and rhythms created an environment where music was always part of everyday life. During her pregnancy, she listened to Indian music, a practice that later influenced George's musical style and his fascination with Indian culture. This exposure to Indian music and sounds left a lasting impression on him, inspiring him to explore and incorporate Indian instruments and melodies into his own work. The Harrison family initially lived in modest conditions in Liverpool, where their home lacked many modern amenities. Despite their simple living situation, the family maintained a rich appreciation for music, thanks in part to Louise's passion. The humble home environment did not diminish their love for musical discovery. Instead, it fostered a sense of creativity and curiosity. George's childhood was marked by these early experiences of listening to diverse musical styles, and knowing that music could be a powerful and meaningful part of life. His mother's influence and their modest beginnings set the stage for his future career, where he would become a renowned guitarist and songwriter in the world of rock music. Starting from his childhood, George Harrison attended Dovedale Primary School before moving on to Liverpool Institute High School for Boys. During his time there, he found himself somewhat disappointed because the school's music program lacked guitars, which was a significant missing element for him. Despite this, George's interest in music grew stronger as he was exposed to different styles and artists. He looked up to many musicians, and his inspirations were quite diverse. Elvis Presley, the famous American singer, influenced him with his energetic performances and distinctive sound that helped popularize rock and roll. Django Reinhardt, the talented jazz guitarist from Belgium, inspired George with his unique guitar style and mastery that showed the art could be both expressive and technically impressive. Carl Perkins, an American guitarist and songwriter, also had a big impact on him, especially with his rockabilly sounds that blended country music with rhythm and blues. From these artists, George learned to love the raw energy, the passion, and the creative spirit of rock and roll. His early fascination with guitars and these musical influences played a crucial role in shaping his future as a musician, helping him develop his own style and eventually become one of the iconic members of the Beatles. His passionate interest in different kinds of music and guitars kept growing, guiding him toward a successful career in the music world. Because his mother bought him his first guitar when he was about 14, George Harrison was introduced to the world of music at a young age. The guitar became his main instrument, and it played a significant role in shaping his future as a musician. With this new instrument in his hands, Harrison began to explore different sounds and styles, which fueled his passion for music. During his youth, he also formed a skiffle group called the Rebels. This band was an important early step for him, as it gave him experience playing with others and performing in front of audiences. The Rebels was not just a simple band, it helped him learn about rhythm, singing, and working together as a team. This experience laid a foundation for his later success. As he continued to develop his skills, Harrison's interest in music grew stronger, and he started to think about making it a career. The lessons he learned from his first guitar and his time with the Rebels stayed with him and influenced his style. His early start as a guitarist and his involvement in the band marked the beginning of a long musical journey that would eventually make him famous around the world. These early years of playing guitar and forming the Rebels showed how a young boy's passion could turn into a lifelong pursuit. Harrison's love for music kept growing, and his experiences in those years helped shape his identity as a musician. The foundation he built during this early time played a key role in his later success as a member of the Beatles and as a solo artist. His story is a reminder of how important it is to follow your interests and keep practicing to achieve your goals. Initially, George Harrison met Paul McCartney while they were both traveling on a bus to school. This encounter marked the start of a lasting friendship that would grow stronger over the years and eventually lead to a significant musical partnership. Their friendship played a crucial role in shaping the future of popular music, as they shared a passion for it from a young age. Later on, in 1958, George decided to audition for the band that John Lennon and Paul McCartney had formed, which was called the Quarrymen. This audition was an important moment for George because it allowed him to showcase his talent and passion for music. After the audition, George was accepted as a full member of the group, meaning he became an official part of the Quarrymen. His addition to the band marked a turning point in its development, as George contributed his skills and enthusiasm. Over time, the Quarrymen evolved, and George's presence helped shape its sound. This early involvement in the band was a key step in George Harrison's musical journey, leading eventually to his role in the Beatles and his influence on music worldwide. The friendship between George and Paul continued to deepen, and their shared experiences in the band paved the way for a musical legacy that still resonates today. Throughout this period, George's dedication and talent were evident, and his role in the Quarrymen was a stepping stone to greater achievements. His early days with the band remain an important part of his story, reflecting his passion for music and his commitment to his craft. The friendship and musical collaborations that started during this time helped shape the future of rock and roll, and made a lasting impact on generations of music fans. Initially, George Harrison's journey with the Beatles started in 1960 when the band went to Hamburg. During their time in Hamburg, they practiced and performed regularly, which helped them become better musicians and performers. Despite facing many challenges, their hard work paid off. Harrison, who was quite young at that time, was even deported from Hamburg due to being underage, but this setback did not stop his passion for music. Instead, it motivated him to continue pursuing his dreams. As the band members gained more experience, they eventually moved to Liverpool and performed in clubs, building a local following. Their dedication and talent attracted the attention of music managers. Under the management of Brian Epstein, the Beatles' popularity grew even more. In 1962, they released their first single called Love Me Do. This release was a significant moment because it was their first record to be put on the market. The song received positive reactions and marked the beginning of their journey towards worldwide fame. From that point, the Beatles started to gain recognition and popularity, paving the way for a revolution in music and pop culture. Harrison's early experiences in Hamburg and the success of Love Me Do set the stage for much of what was to come in the Beatles' legendary career. Since he was a member of the Beatles, George Harrison earned the nickname the Quiet Beatle because he was known for being a reserved person. During the early tours and performances, he generally stayed quiet and focused on playing his guitar, rather than speaking or drawing attention to himself. This quiet nature made him stand out among the other band members, who often took the spotlight more actively. Over time, however, Harrison started to make his presence felt more strongly within the group. He began to have a bigger influence on the band's music and decisions. This change became clear when he received lead vocal credits for some songs, showing his growing confidence and artistic voice. Additionally, his first solo writing credit was on the song Don't Bother Me, which was included on the Beatles' second album. This was a significant step because it marked the beginning of Harrison's journey as a songwriter not just within the band, but as a solo artist as well. His contributions helped shape the sound of the Beatles and influenced the direction of their music. As he continued to develop his style, Harrison's influence grew even more, and he became respected for his musical talents and unique perspective. Despite his quiet nature, Harrison's role in the band and in music overall was important, and he often expressed his ideas through his songs. His evolution from a reserved member to a songwriter and influential musician shows how he gradually asserted his musical influence. Overall, Harrison's quiet demeanor did not stop him from making a lasting impact on popular music, and his early contributions laid the foundation for his later work in his solo career. Since the release of the Beatles' albums in the mid-1960s, George Harrison's role in the band was increasingly significant. By the time they released Rubber Soul in 1965, Harrison's influence was clearly stronger, and he started to explore new sounds beyond the typical pop music of the time. One of the most notable aspects of his growing musical interest was his fascination with Indian classical music. He began experimenting with Indian instruments and melodies which added new textures and depth to the band's sound. This exploration can be heard in several songs on Rubber Soul, where Harrison's interest in Indian music began to influence the arrangements and overall feel of the music. The following year, in 1966, the Beatles released Revolver, an album that marked a significant step forward in their artistic development. Harrison's evolving songwriting skills shone brightly on this album. He contributed songs like Taxman, which was a sharp critique of the British tax system, and Love You Too, which showcased his love for Indian musical elements and his ability to blend them seamlessly into Western pop music. Revolver reflected Harrison's growing prowess as a musician and composer, showcasing his ability to incorporate Indian sounds with his songwriting in a way that expanded the band's musical boundaries. This period marked a turning point, where Harrison's interest in Indian music became an integral part of the band's artistic expression, influencing their later works and leaving a lasting impact on popular music. Since the beginning of his career, George Harrison showed a deep interest in Indian music and spirituality, which had a lasting impact on his work and the overall sound of the Beatles. He was inspired by Indian culture and learned about its music, instruments, and spiritual practices, which influenced many of his musical choices. This exploration helped Harrison incorporate traditional Indian sounds and themes into his music, making a unique mark on the band's style. His fascination with Indian music grew stronger over time, leading him to study the sitar and other Indian instruments, and he introduced these sounds to a wider audience through his work with the Beatles and his solo projects. His spiritual journey also played an important role in shaping his creative ideas, pushing him to seek deeper meaning in his music. During the recording of the White Album, Harrison's influence was clearly visible. One of his most famous contributions was the song, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. This track highlighted his ability to blend Western rock with Indian musical influences and featured the legendary guitarist Eric Clapton playing alongside him. The White Album itself reflected Harrison's evolving musical interests and his desire to experiment beyond traditional Western styles. His dedication to Indian music and spirituality not only enriched the Beatles' sound, but also helped introduce Eastern philosophies and musical traditions to a broader audience. These elements became a significant part of his artistic identity and left a lasting impact on popular culture. During the recording sessions for the album, Let It Be in 1969, tensions among the Beatles increased significantly. The atmosphere in the studio was often strained, with disagreements about the direction of the music and the overall project. These difficulties even caused George Harrison to temporarily leave the band, feeling frustrated and undervalued. Despite the conflicts, the sessions produced some memorable songs, but the strife was a sign of the band's growing political struggles and personal differences. Later, during the creation of the album Abbey Road, Harrison's contributions became more prominent and appreciated. He brought two of the most famous songs on the album, Here Comes the Sun and Something, which are now considered classics. His songwriting gained recognition and finally gave him equal status with John Lennon and Paul McCartney, who had traditionally dominated the band's songwriting credits. Harrison's work on Abbey Road marked a turning point in his musical career, showing his talent as a songwriter and his ability to deliver timeless music. These contributions helped solidify his place in the band and demonstrated his growth as an artist. After the success of the song Something, it became one of the most popular and frequently covered songs by other artists, demonstrating its lasting impact and beauty. Many musicians admired the song, and it received praise from well-known figures such as Frank Sinatra, who considered it a great love song, and John Lennon, who also appreciated its musical quality. The song showcased George Harrison's talent as a songwriter, and its success helped to elevate his reputation within the band. Harrison's final recording session with the Beatles took place in January 1970, marking the end of an era for the legendary band. During this session, Harrison contributed to the recording of the Let It Be album, which was released later that year. Although the band had begun to disband, Harrison's participation in the final recordings demonstrated his dedication and commitment to the group's legacy. His work on Something and his involvement in the last sessions with the Beatles remain significant moments in music history, reflecting his songwriting skills and the group's creative process before their separation. This period highlights the importance of Harrison's contributions and how Something continues to be celebrated as one of the band's finest works. Since his early days with the Beatles, George Harrison faced frustration over his limited role in the band's songwriting and album contributions. Although he grew as a songwriter, many of his compositions were often overshadowed by the more prominent work of John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Harrison frequently felt that his voice and ideas did not receive the recognition they deserved, which led to feelings of dissatisfaction and, over time, contributed to the disintegration of the band. His desire for more creative freedom was a persistent struggle that caused tension among the members. Moreover, Harrison's relationship with McCartney was marked by both camaraderie and underlying tension. The two shared moments of friendship and mutual respect, but disagreements over creative control often strained their connection. Harrison yearned to have his songs featured more prominently and to be treated equally within the group, but McCartney's influence and perceived dominance sometimes created a clash of interests. These conflicts were not just about music, but also about control and recognition, affecting their collaboration and contributing to disagreements that eventually played a part in the band's breakup. Despite these difficulties, Harrison continued to develop as an artist, yet the complex mix of friendship, rivalry, and frustration remained a significant aspect of his time with the Beatles. Wanting to understand the relationship between George Harrison and Paul McCartney, it is important to recognize that Harrison often felt overshadowed by McCartney, who dominated the band's creative direction. This dominance by McCartney caused Harrison to experience a sense of frustration because he believed his musical ideas and contributions were not fully appreciated or recognized in the same way. The tension that grew from these feelings created a challenging environment within the band, leading to moments of conflict and discord. In January 1969, Harrison decided to leave the Beatles, feeling that his voice was not being heard, and that the group's internal struggles were too much to bear. However, his departure was only temporary, and he rejoined the band shortly afterward. Despite his return, the tension between Harrison and McCartney continued, as disagreements over musical direction and band dynamics remained unresolved. This ongoing struggle highlighted the complex relationships within the group and the difficulties of balancing individual creativity with collective harmony. Harrison's brief departure and subsequent return reflected his desire for respect and fair collaboration, but they also underscored the persistent rivalry and differences that kept the band from functioning as smoothly as before. Even after rejoining, Harrison continued to navigate the delicate balance of being a talented musician in a group where leadership was largely centered around McCartney. The tension between dominance and independence within the Beatles remained a significant part of their story, impacting their music and their relationships for years to come. During the final days with the Beatles, tensions among the band members were still very noticeable, even though they had shared many years of success and friendship. Harrison, who had been part of the band since the beginning, felt the strain of these conflicts, but maintained a connection to his fellow members. Throughout this difficult period, Harrison found himself more drawn to working with John Lennon than with Paul McCartney. He felt that Lennon was easier to get along with, and more open to sharing ideas. In contrast, he found McCartney's personality to be quite overpowering at times, which made collaboration more challenging. Despite their strong bond from years of working together, Harrison's personal preferences for musical partners reflected the underlying tensions within the group. These feelings showed that even after many years, maintaining harmony was not easy, and individual relationships could become complicated. Harrison's choice to favor Lennon over McCartney reveals his desire for a more balanced and less stressful working relationship during that difficult period. It also highlights the complex nature of their interactions toward the end of the band's history, where personal feelings and creative differences often clashed. Yet, through all this, Harrison's fondness for Lennon remained clear, and it played a significant part in how he viewed his final days with the Beatles. After working with the Beatles, George Harrison continued his musical journey as a solo artist and collaborated with other musicians. But there was a specific moment that revealed his feelings about his bandmate Paul McCartney. During the recording of McCartney's song Maxwell's Silver Hammer, Harrison felt very frustrated. The song was known for its catchy tune, but the recording process was long and difficult. Lieutenant McCartney was a perfectionist and kept changing things, demanding a very precise sound. This clashed with Harrison's desire to have creative freedom and to add his own touch to the music. The frustration grew, and Harrison often felt held back by McCartney's strict approach to making music. Years later, in a 1974 interview, Harrison openly shared these feelings. He said that the experience with Maxwell's Silver Hammer and McCartney's perfectionism had a strong impact on him. Harrison mentioned that he felt McCartney's obsession with getting the perfect sound had, in some ways, ruined him as a guitar player. This statement shows how deeply the recording difficulties affected Harrison's confidence and his view of his own musical skills. It also reflects the complicated relationship between the band members, especially when they worked under intense pressure and high standards. Harrison's frustrations were part of a larger picture of disagreements and different creative visions within the Beatles. While he admired McCartney's talent and dedication, he also wanted more personal expression in his music. The Maxwell Silver Hammer incident and his honest words in the 1974 interview reveal how difficult those years were for him, and how they shaped his perspective on music, perfectionism, and his role as a guitarist. These moments remain an important part of Harrison's story as a musician who sought his own identity beyond the band. After his passing, George Harrison received many honors that recognized his significant contributions to music. In 2004, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist, an acknowledgement of his impact beyond just being a member of the Beatles. This recognition showed how his work continued to inspire and influence musicians and fans around the world long after his death. Harrison's legacy went beyond his songs. He played a key role in introducing and popularizing Indian music and spiritual ideas to Western audiences. His love for Indian culture was evident in his collaborations with Indian musicians and in his use of traditional Indian instruments like the sitar. This helped more people appreciate Eastern musical traditions and understand their beauty and depth. Harrison's efforts helped break down cultural barriers, making Indian music more accessible and respected in Western popular culture. Many artists and listeners have cited him as a major influence in blending different musical styles and cultures. His legacy lives on through his music, his contributions to promoting Indian music, and the recognition he received from the music world. His work helped open the door for greater cross-cultural understanding and appreciation in the realm of popular music. Harrison's posthumous honors and his influence continue to remind us of his unique role in shaping musical history. His blending of Eastern and Western sounds remains a vital part of his enduring impact. Following that, you see the 2011 documentary titled George Harrison Living in the Material World was directed by the renowned filmmaker Martin Scorsese. This film offered a deep and detailed look into Harrison's life, focusing on his journey from being a member of the Beatles to his solo career. It explored not only his musical achievements but also his spiritual growth and personal struggles. The documentary covered important moments such as his early days in Liverpool, his rise to fame with the Beatles, and his later work as a solo artist. It also examined how spirituality played a central role in his life and music, highlighting his interest in Eastern philosophy and Indian music. Through interviews, rare footage, and personal stories, the film paints a full picture of Harrison as an artist and individual. Besides the documentary achievements, Harrison's legacy was further recognized in 2015 when he was awarded the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award posthumously. This honor was given to celebrate his significant contributions to music and his influence on generations of musicians. The award acknowledged not only his work with the Beatles but also his solo projects and his dedication to blending different musical styles and spiritual ideas. Such recognition cemented his status as one of the most important and influential figures in the history of popular music. His work continues to inspire many, and his contributions are remembered through awards and the lasting impact of his creative efforts. After many years of recognition for his contributions to music, George Harrison was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2009. This award was a significant milestone, as it publicly acknowledged his influence and achievements as a member of the Beatles and as a solo artist. The star was placed on the sidewalk in Hollywood, symbolizing his lasting legacy in the world of entertainment. The moment also served as a reminder of his impact on both fans and fellow musicians. After George Harrison's passing, Sir Paul McCartney, his close friend and bandmate, paid a heartfelt tribute to him. McCartney reflected on their deep bond, recalling the many memories they shared over the years. Despite the ups and downs in their relationship, McCartney expressed how much Harrison meant to him and how his friend's music and spirit continued to live on. This tribute was a touching acknowledgement of the friendship and musical journey they had together. The recognition of Harrison on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and McCartney's final tribute helped keep his memory alive for fans around the world, cementing his place in music history and celebrating the enduring friendship between two of the greatest musicians of their time. After marrying model Pattie Boyd in 1966, George Harrison found himself in a marriage that lasted over a decade, though it ultimately ended in divorce in 1977. During their time together, the bond between Harrison and Boyd was well known, but the marriage faced challenges due to Harrison's issues with infidelity and substance abuse. Despite these difficulties, Harrison maintained a close relationship with his son Danny, who was born during the marriage. Danny grew up feeling the love and support of his father, and became part of a larger family circle that included the children of other famous band members. In particular, Danny developed a strong, sibling-like relationship with Stella McCartney, the daughter of Paul McCartney. Their bond reflected the close-knit ties between the families of the Beatles. Danny and Stella spent a lot of time together, sharing memories and experiences that showed how the families remained connected even after the band's breakup. The relationship between the Harrison and McCartney families was, and still is, a sign of loyalty and friendship that endured through years of change. Despite the ups and downs in Harrison's personal life, especially with his marriage ending, the connections he made through family and friendships played an important role in his life. Johnny's relationship with Stella, along with the bond he shared with his father, highlights the importance that family and friendship held for George Harrison. These relationships showed that despite struggles, love and loyalty in the family could last a lifetime. After marrying Olivia Trinidad Arias in 1978, George Harrison's life became even more meaningful as he shared his love and commitment with her. Their marriage lasted many years, remaining strong until Harrison's passing in 2001, and during this time, Olivia was a constant presence by his side. Despite his fame as a legendary musician, Harrison's interests went far beyond music. From a young age, he developed a deep passion for sports cars and motor racing. This love for racing and fast cars was not just a passing hobby, but a lifelong fascination. As a child, he was drawn to the sleek lines and powerful engines of sports cars, and this interest grew stronger over the years. Harrison often enjoyed spending his free time working on, driving, and collecting cars from different manufacturers. His passion for racing was also evident in his participation in motorsport events, and he was known to attend races regularly. This hobby gave him joy and a sense of freedom that complemented his musical career. It allowed him to escape the pressures of fame and connect with a childhood dream of speed and adventure. Harrison's love of cars and racing showed a different side of him, one that valued thrill, craftsmanship, and the adrenaline rush of the racetrack. Through his lifelong passion, he kept a connection to his childhood and found a way to balance his artistic pursuits with his fascination for machinery and speed. Taking into account his impact on the world, George Harrison's cultural contributions have been recognized and celebrated globally. In his hometown of Liverpool, where he first gained fame as a member of the Beatles, statues and murals have been created to honor his influence on music and culture. These public displays serve as a reminder of his significance and are visited by fans from around the world who wish to pay tribute to his legacy. Outside of Liverpool, Harrison's influence extended to other countries as well, including Bangladesh, where a bust of him is displayed in Dhaka. This demonstrates the deep respect and admiration people in different parts of the world held for him, partly because of his role in spreading Indian music and spirituality, which was a notable aspect of his life and work. Sadly, Harrison's life came to an end on November 29, 2001, after a long and difficult battle with cancer. His passing marked the loss of a talented musician whose work touched many lives, and whose contributions went beyond music to include spiritual and cultural influences. Despite his death, Harrison's legacy remains complex and enduring. His music and the cultural symbols in his honor continue to inspire artists and fans, reminding us of his unique place in history. The respect shown through statues and memorials reflects his lasting impact on the world and his dedication to fostering cultural understanding. His journey from a young musician in Liverpool to a worldwide icon remains a powerful story of creativity, spirituality, and